Hi, this is the walkthrough video for my 2017 Forester SLE. We're gonna go through everything here, starting on the outside. As you can see, this one has an awning, and also has a nice large slide out on it. So we'll just start over here with the generator. This compartment right here. Oh, I lied. Generator's in the next compartment. This actually is the cover for the windshield and the front windows for darkness and privacy. Sorry, the exhaust pipe there throws me off, but this is actually the generator compartment right here. So all the controls for this are inside the RV, but if you ever need to open it up, it's right here. It does have a start, stop, and prime button on here. It also has a circuit breaker right there. That little, sorry for the focus here, but this little switch right there, that should be facing towards you, pulled towards you. I've only had them tripped twice in 5 years, but if you have the generator on and everything's hooked up right and it's still not working, that's worth checking. There's a large compartment here. It's just storage. Great place for boots and lawn chairs and anything else you want to put in there. Regular unleaded gas. It's a 55-gallon tank. This gas tank also supplies the generator until it gets down to a quarter of a tank of fuel, and then it'll starve your generator out, so that way you don't run your tank empty and leave yourself stranded. These doors, at least the ones that aren't by the slide out, have this little catch on them to hold them open. Just be careful, if you pull it down, it'll break these, so just make sure you detach them first. Inside here we have sewer gloves and the sewer hoses. Kind of got the stuff in the way here to see what you need here, but so this is your dump station. You would unscrew this guy, stick the hose up from underneath, come through, pull this cap off, put the hose on there and click it on. You have two valves. You have one large valve here that's black. This is your toilet water. You pull this straight out, and that'll dump all the stuff from the toilet out. And then you have this smaller valve here that's got a gray handle on it. That's your gray water. That's going to be the the stuff from the sink and from the shower that's got soap in it. And you pull that out, and that'll kind of rinse the hose out and dump that as well. So this hose so the hose should be on this side of things, because there's a divider there to keep it separate, which is kind of nice. You have your freshwater connection right here. You put a garden hose in there, and you start filling it up. You watch the water level on the inside of the RV until it gets to full, and then you come out here and disconnect it before it overfills. The hose just sits inside of here. A little bit, when it gets full, will start coming out of this breather, but if you let it sit there and pressurize, you can blow the hose off or rupture the tank and cause a lot of damage to the interior of the motorhome with water. City water connections right here. If you hook the hose up to it and leave it running, it will bypass your tank and your water pump and just use the water from the hose. So kind of nice at a campground. I guess kind of on that note, before you leave a campground, you always want to walk around the motorhome completely once, just to make sure there's nothing connected still. There's your your hose for filling. You have 4 camping chairs in here. You can see how large this storage compartment is. It's quite nice. Access from three different sides. The power cord's got an adapter here for the 30 amp to the 20 amp. This is your connector. Sorry. This is your connector for the campground. If you plug that in, then you can have power from the campground there. If you want your generator to work, this is the outlet from the generator. If this cord's not plugged in, the generator won't do anything for you. So you want to make sure that that's plugged in. There's a little porthole there that you can open up to run the power cord through. Go to the other side of this compartment here so I can show you what else is there. On the back side here, we just have the access to the back of the storage there. Got the trailer hitch there. Let's see what else we got. We got some leveling blocks inside of here. Storage compartment here. This guy's also got the water pump and the drains and the winterization stuff in it, but you definitely won't need any of that stuff. That's all stuff you know. This is your outlet for the refrigerator. When it's running on propane, because the fridge runs on propane when you don't have power hooked up, you'll have a little bit of exhaust coming out of here, and that's nothing to worry about. It's all normal. This guy here, this is for your furnace, so when that's running, this is going to be very hot. Point in case here, not only do you not want to touch this, but you don't want to leave stuff leaning up against the motorhome. If you leave something up against the motorhome, like a camping chair, and somebody comes inside of it, it'll sit there and it'll scratch the side of this thing. It does a lot of damage really fast, so we want to avoid that. Propane's down here. When they fill it, try to make sure that they get the cap back on there to keep the rubber gasket on there. Those are kind of hard to come by sometimes. Obviously left is open, which it was not. It was closed. Now it's open. This particular tank being full is reading about 3/4. Most of the time when you get these refilled, they'll be between 3/4 and full. So I'm not really looking at this one for a main guide, but the one on the inside is a little more accurate, I think. Got some outdoor power outlets here. Only work when the generator or the plug-in is plugged in. Another storage compartment there. Hot water heater here, same deal. If that's running, it's going to be very hot. Don't want to be touching that. It's low enough for kids to touch. So same thing with the furnace. It's low enough for a kid to touch. So we want to be careful with that. Yeah, it's a 2851. It's got a porch light. This vent here, this is actually for the microwave or the hood range, but in order for it to work, you got to actually come out here and open it. But you want to keep it closed when you're not using it. So that's kind of it for the exterior stuff. I guess I should point this guy out here. Just noticed that it had gotten hit by the last renter and didn't really do any damage, but kind of scratched it up pretty good. Looks like he hit a red brick building of some sort. Kind of nicked my awning arm as well. There you go. So just kind of a word of caution, you know, you really got to be careful with your spatial dimension. So these are bigger and bulkier, and more room, extra room, having a spotter when you're driving in tight places is always recommended. So, let's see. On the inside here, there's a couple of things that are a little different. These mirrors are not electric. Most RVs don't have electric mirrors. I have some that do, but there's no mirror switches, there's no nothing. So they are manual. You don't move the glass. There's actually a warning on here that says do not push on the glass. The whole head itself moves. It is adjustable, the whole head, not the glass. So just remember not to try to move the glass. Power windows, power locks. Parking brake is right here. Parking brake release is right there. We do put tire pressure monitor systems on each of these things. See, this thing has enough power to turn back on at the moment. Sorry, can't even see what I'm doing there. This one needs to be charged back up, so apologize for not having that charged for the video, but it'll display the pressure on all the tires. And what you're looking for pressure is you're looking for anywhere between 70 and 80 is where they like to bounce. It does fluctuate 10 pounds just because of the heat. So got a nice touchscreen radio right here. It also functions as a backup camera. Go ahead and start it up here so I can show you. AC is, you know, normal AC, max AC, set it to cold kind of thing. It's got cruise control. Okay, there's this thing here. So if I put it in reverse, you throw it in reverse, it'll automatically turn on. You can at least see your bumper in this thing, so you can kind of get an idea of where you're at. Again, it's not good to trust these things. You cannot see branches that are up high. It is always best to have somebody behind you to yell at you if you're about to hit anything. So that is pretty much the only thing I wanted to show you up here. So we're going to go ahead and shut that off. And we're going to go ahead and switch to the interior here. And we'll start with this awning. The awning, I guess, it is not designed to be out in the wind at all. If it's windy, it needs to be put back in. It's not designed for heavy rain. If it's raining a little bit, which is usually what we get out here, you can pull one of these sides down like this. And what that'll do is that'll slant your awning. So that way the rain will run off and not pile up on it. If it pulls up on it, it'll rip through that fabric pretty quick if you're not careful. You just want to make sure that when you're putting it back in that you stretch this guy back out, get it straightened up first, so that way you don't have to worry about it. So as far as the control for your slide out goes, it does have an extend and retract button. If you just keep holding the extend, it'll roll up backwards, which is how I found this one as well. So, you know, prefer it if you retract it in properly. And all you'd have to do is hit the button and it'll roll itself back up. There's no safety on it or anything. It does take a little while though, it's not super fast. So we're gonna hold the button for a little while we're doing that. This is the battery on-off switch for the 12-volt system. It does need to be in the on position for it to function. If it's off, you won't have any power inside the RV. So I honestly have no reason to put them in the off position. I always leave them on unless it's winter time, and then I shut it off and remove the batteries. So I got two little light switches here. The one closest to the door does this light here. The other one does the party light up top there, which is kind of nice. When you're done with the awning, you want to make sure that it is fully up against the RV like so. Not that it's sticking out. If it's sticking out, it can catch the wind, and if it catches the wind, then it can do some damage. So but there's no safety locks on it or anything like that. On the door here, to open up the screen, you just separate the doors like this. And then you want to have this guy out front there to block the bugs so that the bugs don't come in. Biggest problem with these is people use them as door handles. And that's going to just break these things. They are not designed for that kind of pressure. I'd say that pretty much every RV I've had has that broken on it at some point. So just something to be watching out for. These two will hook together and function as one door. You don't have to slam the door, you can just push it shut. So RV batteries are down here. You won't need to get access to this 99% of the time, but just to show you what they look like and where they're at, they're right there. The batteries I pretty much replace almost always within 2 years because they never last longer than that on a rental, mostly due to abuse. They're only supposed to go down 50% and then get recharged. Most people will drain them completely and then recharge them, which will kill them over time. Okay, so this is the interior of the motorhome. I'm going to go ahead and start the tour here with the main control panel. This is the most important part. So you do have a big slide out in here. My caution with the slide outs is putting things behind it, and I'll show you what I mean here because it's currently out, but I'm going to put it in. So when you roll it in, you want to make sure there's nothing on the ground in front of it that can get sucked underneath, because that can damage the rollers and mechanism. You want to make sure that that chair is far enough forward that it is not catching on the slide out as well. As you can see, there's a little gap right there. But what people do is they travel and stuff falls down here, or they like to put the broom back here, or actually purposely put things back there. Same deal over here. And what happens is if you go to extend this door now, one, you're gonna break or pop this trim piece off. If it pops off, it's not terrible to put back on, but most of the time they break, and you can never find the exact replacement, so you have to redo the whole trim system to make it look right, which gets kind of expensive and time consuming. The other problem is you can actually poke a hole in the wall here and break the wall. And that's actually very expensive to replace. So definitely want to check it every time. Stuff happens, stuff falls when you're transporting, kids drop things, all sorts of things. So that is the biggest concern with a slide out. So onto the control panel, obviously this is your in for the slide out and your out for the slide out. The system up here, you got your gray water check, which shows empty. Most of the time the gray water tanks are pretty accurate. Your black tank, which is shockingly accurate right now, most of the time they will misread because stuff gets stuck on the sensors. You know, so if you really want to know if it's full or not, it'll never read low. It always reads high. So if you ever want to double check it, just flush the toilet and look down it and you can see what's in there. Fresh water, that reads, well, mostly full. Your battery power, mostly full. And your propane reads full. Remember, outside it was reading 3/4. Inside here it's reading full. That's what I mean that we typically go by this one here. So your hot water heater has 2 settings. If you're plugged into electric or got the generator going, you can use electric. I really don't recommend it. I recommend using the gas. And when you turn that on, you gotta probably give it about 15-20 minutes before you get hot water. So and it is insulated, so it does last a while. You know, if you warm it up the night before, you'll at least have warm water in the morning if you turn it back off. If you're at a campground, you can just leave that on. If you're traveling, it's better to have it off. If this little red light lights up and stays on, then you got to turn it off and restart it because it didn't light for whatever reason. Either you're out of propane, propane's turned off, or there's air in the propane system. So water pump is right here. I typically just leave that on when people are using them. So that way, if you hear the pump running periodically when you're not using the water, it tells me that there's a leak in the system. If you run into that, go ahead and shut it off when you're not using it. And if it seems like it's a major one, then we might have to come look at it and figure out what's going on. So always better to check those things out in advance and not let them get out of hand. Water is the worst thing for a motorhome. Does the most damage the quickest, and it's the hardest to fix and the least likely to be covered by insurance. So this Arctic pack right here, that is a blank switch. This actually does not have that, but that's basically a tank heater, so only useful in the wintertime. This guy here, these are light switches. So one thing I don't like about this RV, they had some weird LED lights inside of here that don't work very well. And in order to replace them, you got to replace the whole unit. You can't just replace the bulb. And I'm trying to find replacements for them. Fortunately, it's Alaska, and 99% of the time you don't need them. So, and not all of them do it. So, but yeah. So that's where those light switches are. The generator, a couple things with the generator. If you start them, they have to run for about 3 minutes before you turn them back off, or they will flood. You have to use the generator for the microwave to work, or for the AC to work, which is right there. The TV on this one actually does run on 12 volt. So that is a nice thing to have. At least until it gets broken. When the TV gets broken, I'll replace it with one that doesn't, because they're very expensive compared to a regular TV. So yeah, to start the generator, press and hold start. Okay. So the reason it's doing that is because we don't have enough ampage going on the system right now, which is actually good for showing you this. So in this case, we'll go ahead and start the RV. And by doing so, it's going to connect both batteries together. I think this one has one. Yeah. That switch right there with the battery on it on the driver's seat. If you had somebody here, they could just press and hold that and it would connect the two systems together. And you can use that to jumpstart this motor off of the coach batteries here, or jumpstart the coach batteries off of the engine battery here, which is what we're doing essentially. So there it goes. And now it's fired up. And it is running. These are the hours on there. That is 202.9, not 2,000 hours. Can't really see the decimal point on there, but there it is. So now that it's running, you can go ahead and shut the engine off, and it'll continue to charge the batteries. Good thing to notice. I shut the vehicle off. This radio stayed on. You need to make sure that you open the driver's door to get that to shut off. Otherwise, it could drain the battery. So, all right. So anyway, now that the generator is on, you'll notice that the microwave has turned on. That's my good indication that everything's hooked up properly and working. I guess to show you the controls for the climate in here, because we're kind of on that subject. It's right back here. Some lights on here. So it's currently turned off. See, it says off. Just we gotta, there we go. There's the mode. There we go. So we can switch between the things here. Guess I wasn't hitting the button on the right spot. So this is for the air conditioner. Set for high cooling. 23 degrees in here. I'm assuming that's Celsius for some reason. Let's see if we can get that changed to Fahrenheit. So when we get the temperature set down here and just leave it alone, you can hear that the AC is kicked on and it's now blowing cold air. We do have vents back here in the bedrooms for the AC, and throughout the RV itself, right here on both sides, and then one up here for this bedroom up here, so that way you can have cold air in the bedrooms. So that's typically where you want it the most anyway. But yeah, clearly this is set for Celsius for whatever reason. So if you want to have the heater run instead, you go to high. Well, that's the cooler stool, sorry. There you go, furnace, high. Set your temperature to where you want it, leave it alone. Same deal, once it switches over, it'll kick the furnace on, which it just did, and it's now blowing hot air. So there's that guy there. The other thing you got to watch out for, oop, went right past it there, is that the fan is still blowing. See, that is set for high. You want to set the fan for auto, so that way it only runs when it needs to run. So now that has turned off and the furnace is still running. You don't really want the fan running when the furnace is running. It doesn't make any sense. So let's see. So you want fan for auto, and then like I said, you can set your temperatures. And then if you wanted to set it off, then you go to this off position here, and you just leave it there and it'll turn off. And then I don't know how to change it between Fahrenheit and Celsius off the top of my head, so I'm going to do that after the video's over. Those are your light switches. In your bedroom, main bedroom anyway, it does have nice shades inside of it. They're just regular shades. You just kind of, you know, it's supposed to roll up a little easier than that, but there it goes, at least a little bit anyway. So that's your window there. Might have to help it up by rolling it up by hand every once in a while. Do have a vent up here if you want to open the vent. Got some reading lights up here. And then up in this corner here, there's a AC adapter. If you have a CPAP, you can plug in your adapter there for your 12 volt. And if you need to run the 120 volt for it, you got it right there. So that's the bedroom. With the bathroom, when you open up this door, there's a magnet on it, and it stays open like that. It kind of forms a little private bathroom area here. Got a nice size shower inside of here with a retractable curtain. Hot and cold water, on and off switch up here as well. Definitely want to conserve water when you are in a motorhome. You get about 23 minutes of faucet time before you run out of water, and you have to dump your gray tank. So regular sink here, nothing special. It's got a fantastic fan in here. That's what they're actually called. They're actually really nice. And I just realized that there's a slight chance that somebody broke this one. Yeah, I think somebody broke that one. I'll have to look at that later, unfortunately. So yeah, got a light switch in here on the corner here. When you flush this toilet, you always want to make sure that there's water left over in the toilet here. That it creates a seal, keeps the odors from coming up. This is a foot flush toilet, so if you press it just a little bit, it'll fill up with water, and if you press it all the way, it will flush. If you hold that down, you have this little spray wand here, which is kind of nice too, because it helps clean things out. It doesn't always work the first time with the foot flush. So and yeah, I got a nice storage cabinet right there for some stuff, as well as a nook for toilet paper and another cabinet for other things. There's also a heater vent inside of here, so the bathroom's always nice and warm when the furnace is going. With your refrigerator, a couple things with it. I always leave mine on auto. This one's obviously off at the moment. When you leave it on auto, the auto light lights up. And what that means is when the generator's running, it will run it on electric. If it's plugged into power, it will run on electric. But if you're not, it will run it off of propane. It's very efficient on propane. That's why I like to leave it. The freezer right here. Little word of caution: these drawers are like $70 and kind of hard to find. So you want to be careful with them. You don't want to overload them. You don't want to put stuff in front of them and break them. Sometimes they break the mounts on the doors, which are very expensive. These fridges are $2,200 just for the fridge. That does not include removal and installation, which typically requires removal of one of these windows. They do not fit out the main door. Sometimes you can get away with taking the chairs out and the center console out there and get them out the door there. But we want to take care of the fridges as much as possible to prevent that. So the release lock on them, it's right here. You press it and it opens. You do want to make sure that it clicks shut. If it doesn't click shut, it'll open on you when you're driving, cause all sorts of problems. So a couple things I'd like to point out here. This is a good example of it right here, actually. This is your thermostat. It being down here this low, this fridge won't even get cold. There's a little groove back here where it comes up through like this, and then it needs to come up into here. And this is actually where it goes. It goes on this deal right here. So I'm going to set it for let me shut it off there. So this is how you actually want it to be. It should come up through here like that, and then come up into here. And this, the higher this is, the colder the fridge will be. Sometimes you can get them too cold. I'm gonna leave it right there. If it's too cold, you can bring it down a little bit, but you don't want to have them falling down in the middle of the fridge, because that will not work. The other thing I want to point out is this tray right here. A lot of people remove it because they want more space. This thing does create condensation. It does fall down into this tray. This tray funnels it out this hole, which goes out to this tray right there, and that goes out to the outside of the RV, which is where the water should go. Otherwise, it'll come down all over your food, and it'll also come out here and it'll do water damage down here. So just something to watch out for. That's how the fridge should work. That's my spiel there. This table here does drop down into a bed. I'm not going to show you with one hand, because that'd be more hilarious than anything, but there's a release right there for taking the table off. You unscrew that a little bit, wiggle the table back and forth, it'll come up. Same thing down here, you just wiggle the pipe and pull up on it, it'll come out. And then you take this tabletop right here and you set it down on this ledge right here. And then these cushions can come out on top of it and make a bed. These are just recliners. Doesn't really make a bed. The release for the recliner part's right there. Does have seat belts on it though, so you got seat belts there. This dude up here, this does turn into a bed. You got this platform right here that flips over. You got to be careful with the TV. So once you got it hooked up there, if you have younger kids up there, which a lot of times people do, you can take these seat belts, and behind the curtain here, they can click in and attach right there. And that's going to prevent, it's going to make this catch net for them so they don't roll off, which is kind of nice. So this is the ladder for it. Please use it. Please don't be climbing up and down, because these things will break very easily. The ladder kind of just locks into place right here. Doesn't really take up that much space, but it makes it nice. I'm 230 pounds. This ladder is totally good for a 230-pound guy, so plenty strong. The other thing is when you put it back, please make sure that it is in its proper location here to prevent it from doing damage to things, and also that these hooks are facing outward so that they're not sitting there eating up the fabric. Got a stereo system up here. It's pretty basic. I'm not going to walk you through it. Same thing with the TV. It's a pretty standard TV. Runs on 12 volts. Just like any other TV, you got to turn the power on, set the input to the right station. This is where the DVD player is for and the sound control for the TV. It's all here. So got to make sure your TV's plugged in. Got a remote in here and guide if you need help with it. So a little bit of information right there on it. Let's see. Your sink's a regular sink, nothing special there. This guy here, you got your light and you got your fan. You want to make sure the light's turned off when you're not using it. With your stove, it's kind of like a barbecue. You set it to the light position, then use your striker to light it. There you go. Make sure those are off when you're not using them. And then the oven requires you to light the pilot light, which means you press this in, you set it to pilot, you press and hold it in the pilot position. While doing so, you come down into here, and right where that little tip is where you light it. You got to keep holding that pilot knob in while you're doing it, and until it lights. There it is. And then once it stays lit, you can set it to the temperature you want, and then make sure it's all the way in the off position when you're done, and that way the pilot light goes out. You got a fuse box down here if you need it. It's not very common that we do need them, but fuses are here on the left. Descriptions of what they do are right there, and then the 120 volt circuit breakers are right here, so they should all be in the up position. And yeah, I believe that is everything with the motorhome. If after watching this video you still have any questions, please feel free to contact me and ask. I'd be happy to answer the questions. Otherwise, I hope you guys have a wonderful trip. Fire extinguisher there in the corner too. So, all right, have a good one.